Welcome back. It's an open secret our government and institutions have been captured by the genocidal socialist dictators. However, as long as we have a few good men and women who represent we the people, I believe we may still have a fighting chance. Check out Congressman Matt Gaetz speak truth to power.
Secretary Austin, why should American taxpayers fund lectures at the National Defense University that promote socialism as a strategy to combat China?
I don't know of any such lecture, but
well, that's surprising because it was widely reported. The National Defense University had Thomas Piketty come, and this was the title of his lecture.
I'd like to thank you all for joining us for our SMA INSS Prism speaker session entitled Responding to China, the Case for Global Justice and Democratic Socialism. I'd also like to thank today's speaker, Professor Thomas Piketty, for taking the time to present today.
Now that you know that they did this, would you agree that embracing socialism is not an effective strategy to combat China?
I don't know what the context of this particular or content of this particular speech was.
Mr. Secretary, I've shared with you the context. The context wasn't better understand socialism so we can defeat it. The context wasn't learn about it so that we can offer countermeasures. The concept was that it's time for socialism.
Exposing the radical agenda for what it is and making the public aware of what is going on behind closed doors is one of the most important things that we can do. Joining us now, CEO of Liberty Sentinel Media and author of the book Indoctrinating Our Children to Death, Alex Newman. Alex, welcome back. Thank you so much for being with us. First off, I have to ask, why on earth would the National Defense University host a lecture making a case for democratic socialism to begin with?
Well, thank you for having me, Alison. It's an honor and a pleasure to be with you. And I think the simple answer is because the regime in power in Washington is now hoping to turn our institutions against everything that America is founded on and ultimately against the American people. There has been a nonstop purge going on with a brief pause during the Trump administration of patriotic, constitutionalist, conservative, and Christians from the officer corps and also from each of the services. This is accelerating now to the point where they're openly indoctrinating our troops with communism, socialism, and make no mistake, the critical race theory stuff, the gender theory stuff, all of this is part of the same war on America. And they've captured virtually every institution. The last one standing was the U.S. military. Now they're going to try to crush that or co-opt that along with the middle class. So this is very, very dangerous. And the fact that they're this out in the open about it is a very, very ominous sign.
Yeah, it should terrify everyone. And you're right, they have co-opted just about every institution that we have here, including, of course, the media. I wanted to get your thoughts on this recent article from The Guardian. It says, socialism isn't a dirty word. It's simply about wanting to make a fairer society. Alex, is this your understanding of socialism?
It's nobody's understanding of socialism except the most idiotic, useful idiots on the face of the planet. Socialism never makes a fairer society, and anybody who's ever read Animal Farm understands that very well, right? Some pigs are always going to be more equal than the other farm animals, and socialism always and inevitably leads to that. It's a somewhat different hierarchy than in a free market. In a free market, you have people who work harder and acquire more skills and work more intelligently, rising to the top, whereas in socialism, you have the most corrupt, the most pathological, the most megalomaniacal individuals rise to the top. But socialism needs to be understood as the antithesis of freedom. And in that same article by The Guardian, one of the leaders of this Labor Party says, well, we're Christian socialists. That's an oxymoron. You cannot be a Christian socialist. Socialism requires the elimination of private property. Christianity is based on, among other fundamental principles, thou shalt not steal, which by definition requires private property. These are not compatible ideas.
Yeah, Christian socialism, never a thing, never going to be a thing. That is just laughable, honestly. Of course, anyone that really knows anything about the history of these collectivist movements knows that these causes really turn idealists into authoritarian zealots. Alex, do you believe people subscribing to this ideology truly are idealists, at least at the start of all of this?
I think some of them are, right? And the evildoers at the top of the communist hierarchy understand that they have to recruit idiots, useful idiots, to be the cannon fodder, to be the revolutionaries, to be the people willing to fight and die for this ideology from the pit of hell, which is really more of a smokescreen for a criminal cabal than it is an ideology or any sort of economic system. But yes, unfortunately, these efforts to turn regular everyday people into revolutionaries are very, very dangerous. And unfortunately, when people's hearts are desperately wicked is what the Bible teaches. And so when you combine a desperately wicked heart with ideas from the pit of hell that promise free stuff, right? These people become very envious. Oh, those people have more money than you. Those people have a nicer car. Those people have a bigger house. Let's steal it from them. So when you combine those two things, ignorance and envy, you end up with passionate revolutionaries willing to die for the cause of running your life, stealing your stuff. Very, very dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people should truly know by now that anything that seems good on the surface always have some, evil ulterior motive. So it's never really going to work out well in the long run. And that is a perfect case for socialism, especially when, LA announced a new taxpayer-funded apartment development that reportedly costs $600,000 per unit for homeless housing. Alex, I have to suspect there's more going on here than just housing the homeless. I mean, this seems like the beginnings of socialism here in America, but what are your thoughts?
That's the direction that they're moving, Alison. They want to bankrupt the middle class. They want to force us to basically live as paupers and then come up with a fake solution, which will be universal basic income. The government's going to give you a house. The government's going to pay your food bill. The government's going to give you health care. The government's going to pay for your college. So we're watching at the same time as we're seeing this outrageous spending on these things, and I'm sure there were cronies involved here. But at the same time we're watching this, we're watching the systematic elimination of the middle class. See, the middle class doesn't need the government to give free houses, to give them free food, to give them free college or free health care. And there's no such thing as free, by the way. These are all taxpayer funded. Yeah. So this is an effort to eliminate the independent middle class in America, which really is the last human force standing in the way of global socialism and ultimately global tyranny.
Yeah, it really is. You're exactly right. It's truly terrifying, and I really just fear for our future at the rate that we're going now. Alex, there's also a report from Portland that apparently found the area spent over $500 million fighting homelessness, so they say. But Alex, as we've seen, Portland is just still a disaster to this day. I don't think any improvements have been made. What's going on here? Where's all this money really going? Are they really trying to fight homelessness?
No, this is what totalitarians have done since the days of Frederick Bastiat. They concoct the poison and the antidote in the same laboratory, and that's what we're watching here. Government policies are mass-producing homelessness and all the other social problems that we see. They're brainwashing children to believe that there is no God, that there is no meaning to life, that you should just have as much fun as you can, which might mean smoking crack, it might mean whatever. And so then these people end up in very, very difficult circumstances, and then the government that did this to them promises to come in and rescue them from the same problem, all the while enriching their brother-in-law, their cousins, the crony contractors. So this is a scam piled on top of a scam. And really the whole West Coast right now is Exhibit A in why we don't want these ideas to take root within our government. It's hard to imagine things getting worse, but they will get worse unless and until this craziness is stopped.
Yeah, it's got to stop. Alex, we are out of time today. Thank you so much for joining us, and thanks for your insight. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Alison.
For all our viewers asking where One America News is heading in the future, we would like to introduce you to OAN Live. OAN Live is the best way to stay up to date on all of the hard-hitting, straight-shooting, national and international headlines. And the best part is, OAN Live is only $4.99 per month. All the credible, honest, unbiased reporting One America News offers at a fraction of the cost of cable. Just go to OANN.com to easily sign up for OAN Live and stay informed.